More and more we hear about tree restoration and tree planting projects in Europe and abroad. Buy this product or service and we'll plant that amount of trees for you, or companies making commitments to plant certain amount of trees by a certain date. Now, what are the organizations that are actually at the forefront of this change? The ones that are going out there and planting the trees. Today, I'm speaking with Vanessa Wade, who is a board member at an NGO called Graine. Graine works across various countries, for example, Madagascar, Cameroon, Togo, Benin, and they plant trees there and work with local populations. Let's find out how they do that. Vanessa, welcome to the Interesting Times podcast. I'm so excited to have you here today.
Thank you, Elena. Me too.
So to start with, please tell us a bit about yourself and why you decided to support an organization called Graine.
I got involved with Graine pretty much from the beginning, and it's because the founder of Graine, Frederick de Bush, is someone that my husband and myself know personally for a very, very long time. Mm-hmm. And therefore, when he started Graine in 2009, of course, he explained to us what it is, and we got really excited about the cause that he wants to follow, because it totally made sense at the time for us. And it still makes sense, even more sense now.
So what is this cause?
Right. Our organization is the mission is to help fight climate change, mm-hmm. And help fight it by planting trees, by protecting existing forests, by reforestation activities mainly in Africa, mm-hmm. And by doing so, also participating in sustainable development in undeveloped African nation. Okay. So both causes are so important to the humanity and today that they basically that's why I got involved. Trees are an incredible. They have incredible impact on our lives. They regulate our climate. They provide fruit, which is food for local population. Yeah. They regenerate soil. They provide stability for soil. Trees in mangroves provide life for species in mangroves. Trees in forests provide life for insects. They provide life for animals. So it's not only the importance of trees is not only because of the absorption of emissions. We can't live without them. So the destruction of our forest is accelerating every single year. Yeah. If we don't do something about it, and if we don't mobilize ourselves to do something about it, it's the catastrophic results will happen. So that's one, and the additional aspect of it, the humanitarian aspect and the socioeconomic aspect is also very important, because what we're doing is in our reforestation activities, we integrate that completely with the local life, which means we involve only local villagers, mm-hmm. in work that's involved with reforestation. We provide work for them. We give them seedlings and young trees, fruit trees and cash crop trees, which are planted in our tree nurseries. We give them for free to the local villagers. Okay. So they plant it in their villages. By doing so, we provide food for their families, because they live mainly on fruits. And, as an effect, we fight poverty, right? Because we provide cash crop trees with coffee or ravinstra, so they can plant them and then sell the crops. And they can live on the fruit that that they have from the trees that we give them. So we also fight poverty.
Vanessa, wow, this is a wonderful cause. I'm very much inspired already. So why do you think it's very important to work with local populations?
The problem with the reforestation and forest protection is very often the fact that the local people, they burn it, right? They cut it, they burn it, they live on natural resources, so they cut it for wood, they cut it for to sell wood, they cut it to burn for charcoal, they just cut it or they burn it.
Yeah, so they need an energy source.
We need to make sure that our activities of protection and reforestation will be long lasting, that the trees that we protect or plant will be there for 10 years, right? So how do we do that? The only way to do that is to get the local people involved and educate them and provide them means to motivate them not to burn and not to cut, right? How do we do that? We provide employment for them, so they don't have to cut to sell to have income, right? We hire only local people.
Mm-hmm.
When we create nurseries around these national parks, in the nurseries, we grow cash crop trees and we grow fruit trees.
Mm-hmm.
People working in those nurseries are local people. The fruit of our work is given for free to the villagers.
Okay.
Right? So they earn money, then they get free cash crop trees and fruit trees to plant and to feed themselves. In exchange, what we ask them to do is not to burn and to help us for free, in some cases, in many cases, to reforest the reforestation zones that we're given to reforest. Mm-hmm. Okay. The primary forest is reforested mainly by the approach of direct seedling. That means we prepare seeds in advance.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Then we give to the local population. We give them big bags of pre-treated seeds, and we give them a long stick.
Why?
And they go with our employees into reforestation zones, and we teach them how to plant seeds directly in the soil. Mm-hmm. So we have few hectares, let's say, a few hectares to reforest, and we give them training for half a day, and then for 3 or 4 days or 5 days, one after the other, they go with our local employees and they simply make a hole in the ground and they put the seed in it, and they reforest hectares, the zones that need to be reforested. Our employees are used to teach the villagers how to plant trees. They are their job is to help build the tree nurseries. Mm-hmm. Their job is to go into the reforestation zones and plant with the villagers. Their job is also educate local population. We go around the country or countries, mm-hmm. Where we have seminars and training sessions, awareness training sessions, in schools particularly, to discuss with young children or with children in general, the importance of trees in their life, mm-hmm. and the impact that trees have on their daily existence. We then create tree nurseries in schools.
Okay.
With the children together.
Nice.
And then, the children take ownership of each one, has 1 or 2 or 3 trees. And they take ownership of those trees. and they grow them. And then when the trees, when the seedlings are large enough, they come with parents and teachers. They take those seedlings and they plant in their garden. So we teach the respect for nature and respect for trees and the importance of trees. So that's,
that's
also
wonderful.
the mission of our employees, and it's a long process, but we feel it's very, very important to start at a young age, because they've never, they don't have an opportunity to get respect for nature otherwise.
No, I completely agree with you. And I actually think this would be a wonderful idea to implement, not just in the countries you work with, but everywhere in the world. If kids at school actually learn how to care for the trees, how to grow them, and then they would go and plant them in the gardens or in the nature around their homes, I think you would all respect nature a lot more, because you wouldn't want to cut a tree that you planted yourself. Let's look at it a little bit from the other angle. How do you involve companies and businesses in the work that you are doing?
So we are an NGO, and our livelihood depends on donations from individuals and from organizations. From individuals is straightforward, and we can talk perhaps a little later about the models that our individual donations use for their contribution. But in terms of professional organizations, we have organizations of various sizes, shapes, and businesses that that are donors. There is a straightforward model, basically, where you'd say a company will look at their business and say, okay, part of our business, we need to reduce our emissions, which means we should be using recyclable materials. We should be promoting for our employees to take bicycles to work. So it's a part of reduction, right? Which in that part, Graine has no role to play. Okay? Where we play role is after the reduction, the companies say, okay, there is not 100% of our emissions that can be reduced. It doesn't exist, right? 100% reduction. So there is a percentage, and there is a part of the emission that needs to be compensated for, right? So that's where we come in. And the compensation can be calculated by, if you know how many tons of carbon you emit per month or per year, we can tell you how many trees you need to plant to be at zero. Or you can say, okay, my budget is maximum, I don't know, 5,000 or 10,000 or 20,000 euros per year. Then we can tell you how many trees we can plant for you. And then based on how many trees we can plant for you, we can calculate how much, in emissions you will compensate, right? Or you can say, I'd like to get my customers involved in a reduction, and in compensation of emissions. And you can give your customers a choice of planting 2 trees, 10 trees, 20 trees, 1 tree, whatever, per each product sold. So we have also companies who have online businesses, for example, and they say, okay, for each product sold, we will plant 1 tree. We have partners, I can mention one of them because in Belgium they are very known, is Ixina. Ixina calculated how much emissions is emitted by fabrication, and sales of each, an average kitchen set. And they'd say percentage of that, whatever percentage that is reduced by reduction of emission, and then certain percentage is compensated. So if you go to Ixina website, you'll see on their website, they say, okay, we plant X trees for each kitchen sold.
Well, if I knew that when we were selecting our kitchen, maybe I'd go to Ixina then.
Yes. We have small companies, medium size, And then we have individuals like you and me that participate very actively as well. So we welcome everybody at the same level.
Okay, perfect. So if somebody who is listening to this podcast would like to get involved to Graine the V, you can know that no matter the size, you can always come to them and they will be happy to work with you.
Totally.
And Vanessa, I have an impression, but maybe I'm wrong, that the COVID pandemic accelerated somehow the sustainability switch, and that more and more people nowadays are aware of the climate change and want to do something about it. In terms of your work, do you notice more interest in organizations coming to you asking to do tree planting or tree restoration projects, or it's the same as before?
It could be that people had a bit more time in front of their screens to browse around and ask themselves questions. Gosh, what can I do? And the planet is not good. And what can I do to help? That could very be the reason. It could be a reason because during the pandemic, Graine de Vie as an organization, we also launched a number of initiatives as a brand recognition initiatives. We've been very quiet for very long, and we've grown to plant 35 million trees without zero marketing activities.
Wow.
And we've, as a member of the board, we with other board members, we ask questions. Well, gosh, I mean, this is amazing that we've gone so far with no marketing. Imagine what can we do if we let people know more actively what we do. So sure. We started, we started sticking our nose out and actually getting involved in some brand marketing. And so that's number two. And number three, the pandemic definitely, I think, had people thinking. As I said, they have more time on their hand to do reflection and to ask themselves, what can we do? And last year, the forest fires around the world, it was just mind-boggling. It was the worst ever recorded in the existence of our generations. And that's probably why that also has been in the news. News very all over the place, which gave people reflection. Gosh, let's do something about it. So yes, it did have a very positive impact, but was it COVID? No. I think it was the period itself that made probably the impact very positive. However, I think what we have now, it's the results of the COVID, where we see now a lot of budgets being spent on the rebuilding of our economies. And a lot of it is going, as I've heard on the TV, particularly in Belgium, to initiatives related, climate initiatives and environmental initiatives. So it's very exciting. It's very exciting because I hope that some of it will actually be spent into climate saving initiatives, including the forest protection and the forestry activities.
Yeah, for sure. I hope so too. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, even 30% of Recovery and Resilience Fund from the EU is also supposed to go to sustainability initiatives.
Yeah, it's great. I think it's all very positive.
Well, that's great. It's great that whatever the reason is, that we are waking up and we are trying to do something about it. But I was curious, how many trees do we need to plant to offset the impact of the emissions of one person? And how many trees do we need to plant globally to make a real change?
I will start with the answer to your question with the second part of the question. which how many trees do we need to plant globally to make a difference? And that will be bazillion, right? I don't think that we can plant enough trees to stop the emissions. But every single tree is very important, right? Because every single tree has a massive impact on and it absorbs our emissions. So people relate better into one tree than bazillion trees. To calculate how many trees do we need to plant to offset the emission of one individual, there are many answers as well. There are a number of electronic calculators that you can find on the website. And if you really want to do it in details, it's going to be very different for every single person, because it depends on your own lifestyle. It depends on where you live. It depends on your age. It depends on what you eat. It's just, it can get very complicated. Right. And I read your own experience with the calculator on your website, which was exactly what people will go through if they try to do this. So our thought on it is that rather than making it so complicated, we're simple people, right? And we simplify things. We just want to plant trees, right? And the easy way to kind of do this is to look at the statistics and calculate your own lifetime emission based on the statistics, and look at it from a point of view of solidarity with the world. We're all on the same planet, so let's just do a statistical calculation. And if we all do this, right, we all will plant a lot of trees, which is the objective of what we want to do. So if you look at the emissions, right, there are 10 tons of emission of carbon monoxide emitted per an average European per year.
Yep.
Okay, that's a known statistic. An average age of a human is 80 years. There is a difference between female and male, but we'll do 80 years. So if you say, 10 tons times 80 years, you need to offset 800 tons for your life. Yeah. And then you look, okay, let's look at the trees now. Each tree absorbs an average 5 kilograms of carbon per year. And each tree has a life cycle of average 20 years. So one tree will absorb 100 kilos of carbon, right, for its life.
Yep.
And it's a very easy calculation, right? So you just take, 800,000 kilos times, 100 kilos, and you know that you have to plant 8,000 trees.
Okay.
If you plant 8,000 trees, you will offset your your lifetime emissions. Now, Graine de Vie will plant a tree for 25 cents. So if you say, okay, if I want to offset my life, I'd have to invest 2,000 euros. And then what many people do is they say, okay, well, of course, making a donation of 2,000 euros, it's expensive. So then you say, I can give 100 euro a month, or 100 euros a year, or 10 euros a month, or 5 euros a month, whatever it is that you can do as far as donation. You just divide 2,000 euros per that amount, and you know how many months and you can make a recurring donation to Graine de Vie.
Yeah.
Which many of our individual donors do. I mean, I started compensating when Graine de Vie started its existence. And I pay 15 euros a month for the past 11 years. And it doesn't make that much of financially, I don't see it, but it makes an impact.
No, it does. It's a very good strategy, throughout all these years. And then first of all, it's a good strategy to realize what's your impact and how it can be offset in the amount of trees. Because I think it's not the number that just comes out of top of your mind that you think, okay, I need to plant 8,000 trees and that will more or less offset the emissions of my lifetime. So first of all, I think it's a good starting point to know. And thank you for sharing that. That's why I actually asked, because I was very curious. And secondly,
and it's a simple calculator, right? I mean, as I said, you can go as complicated as you want, but if you just keep that in mind, 8,000 trees, 8 to 10,000, depends again on your lifestyle. It's you will offset your life, and then how you're gonna plant and how much you can spare amount. It's up to you.
Vanessa, thank you so much for sharing the inspiring story of Graine. I personally was very impressed with what you're doing, and I'm sure that all our listeners will be too. I want to wish you lots of success, and I hope that in the upcoming years you can plant, bazillion trees that need to be planted in order to do a real impact. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And thank you for this opportunity. I hope your readers will appreciate our activity and visit our website and help us out.